What do you think that the representatives are completely missing?
It's a very good question.
What is, in your opinion, the usage of AI?
AI is something that you can't escape from.
That's a very good insight.
There are some other jobs which, in a not too far away future, AI could completely replace. For us, it's not about just an education.
Right.
It's also about seeing them develop.
It's an overall development. It's not just that getting a degree. What is your insight specifically on nursing and all those areas?
There's definitely going to be a shortage.
Is there a huge difference even in the mindset of each of the communities which they are coming?
Nowadays, the mindset have shifted compared to, again, going back 5-10 years. Students and parents focus a lot on career outcomes. What's the return on investment for them?
Why do you think government has taken this move? And one of them is diversification.
They've come to a point where they realize that it's important to diversify and not put all your eggs in the one basket.
Thank you, Desmond, for joining today on this afternoon, over these fantastic conversations in the most interesting time of the Australian recruitment, industry. But Desmond, working as a regional manager at Australian Catholic University and, being with the university for more than a decade and came to Australia while and did your schooling in Australia. How do you think that the Australian education system, has evolved in terms of specifically post-COVID, in terms of the health sector, right? And what is your insight specifically on nursing and all those areas at this point in time?
Yeah, look, I think, for anyone who has done a bit of research in terms of, the demand for nurses and for teachers, and also I think even the government have recognized, going into the future in the next
Correct.
decade, 5-10 years, there's definitely going to be a shortage
Right.
of nurses and teachers out there. I think probably like you mentioned with COVID, it definitely had, a significant impact on this as well. And of course, given the fact that Australia is a growing population, but also at the same time an aging population too. So I think there's always going to be a very strong demand for nurses and teachers
Right.
for Australia going into the future. Not only the short term, but the long term as
Long
well.
term as well.
And I think ACU definitely has positioned itself very well, I think, in this space. I think ACU has always been recognized as one of the universities out there that contributes, as being one of the largest providers of, in terms of enrolling students into our nursing and our teaching programs every year. And also, of course, every year then graduating,
Right.
one of the highest numbers of nurses, midwives, and teachers here in Australia. So, yeah, so ACU, we fit perfectly well, into this space and really making that contribution towards, I guess, this workforce demand.
Fantastic.
You can say.
And in my experience, I've really observed that a lot of universities, and obviously every university is somewhere or the other commercialized, but when it comes to Australian Catholic University, I feel that no matter whatever has been the market and whatever has been the demand of the students, ACU has always stuck to its own USP, right? Which is the health-oriented sector and contributed great amount of graduates. What is the reason that ACU is still more looking into stabilizing quality in all market scenario and not looking more into just commercial model?
I think a big part of that has to do with the values of our university.
Right.
So first of all, for us, we care about a student-centered approach
Right.
in everything that we do.
Correct.
In terms of the education that we give to our students,
Right.
in terms of the support and the welfare, support that we give to our students, because everything for us has to be about the students
Absolutely.
first and foremost. The other is obviously in terms of the value, like I mentioned.
Correct.
So for us, we really want our students to develop, when they come on the ACU journey with us.
Right.
For us, it's not about just an education
Right.
for the students who join ACU. It's also about, seeing them develop,
Correct.
right?
So it's an overall development. It's not just that getting a degree and coming out and getting a job.
Exactly. So we want to make sure, well, of course, our students to be well educated, right? Receiving a high standard of education, but we want them to grow personally as well. So we want them to come out of ACU as a much better version of themselves when they first joined ACU. But on top of that, we really want our students to be able to really think about how they can also contribute back to society.
That is a very, very good value, I must say.
Yeah. Particularly, I think all this stems from the fact that, a big focus for us is in health sciences, like nursing and in teaching. So for us, what we do want to instill in our students is the fact that, um, to have an education is a privilege, right? But then also, they should also consider then how can they also make a contribution now that they have this source of knowledge, these sets of skills.
Right.
How can they contribute in some way or form, back to their community or back home, in their home country if they're international students. So we want students to really think about that as well.
And very personalized approach, if I may say, that what you are stating over here is that the student number of student versus a faculty ratio is quite good. It is not that there are too many students in a particular class environment. And what you told about giving back to the community is very much linked to the health focus, right? Because when we talk about health and teaching, if you talk about the foundation value, it's all about giving back to the maximum community possible, and everything comes as a very round circle. That's so good to know that, because what happens is a lot of students, when they talk about and look into any university, it's about courses, campus, scholarships, which we understand. But there is a lot of ground reality, which you just mentioned, which plays a lot of role, and it goes long way rather than the short term. Having said that, Desmond, when it comes to, we've seen a lot of students who are in Australia, international students who are studying in high school, right? Okay.
Yes.
Even if,
Yes.
who are in interstates, right? Who are not based out of Melbourne, also looking to prefer, the university as one of their first to second preference. Why do you think that is the case?
I think for students, once they're here, obviously, with the help of their school counselors, I think they get a better sense of probably which university or which institution is probably better suited for them.
Correct.
So I think that is usually probably, the first step. Because I think in Australia, I guess there's different perceptions.
Right.
Probably for students who haven't grown up in Australia or haven't studied in Australia, say through the school system, probably, maybe their knowledge or their perception of the choices of universities are a bit more limited,
Right.
you can say,
Absolutely.
right? But once they're here, obviously they've got their school counselors who work with the students here in the schools, right? Or maybe, just talking to their friends as well, so there's this good exchange of knowledge there. Then they get a better picture of which university or which institution would actually be better suited
Right.
for them.
Correct.
And I think obviously as a student who's considering university, I think you also think about, okay, so what do I want at the end of my education,
Right.
right? I want to have, a good job,
Correct.
right? A well-paid job. I guess the career outcomes
The
then
career
also becomes
a very
big
important
factor
role. Yeah.
as well. So for ACU, for us, obviously, we do focus on courses where that are aligned with, the workforce demands of Australia. So, and I think a lot of students can see that. And again, just going back to nursing and teaching with the shortages there, and knowing that, there'll be job opportunities out there after they graduate. I think, these are certainly drivers for students.
Right.
And then I think, of course, then combined with, okay, so if that appeals to them, I want to be a nurse, I want to be a teacher, I want to be a health professional. Um, and then, of course, the reputation that we have as as an institution for these sorts of courses. I think, all these factors come together and then they go, well, you know what? I think that's the university for me.
Makes sense. So when it comes to, mental well-being of every international student, which is a very big component for the student to have a very smooth journey throughout the university. What are the support systems, right, which ACU has in place, specifically when I talk about any student who's just, been 18, and they are coming to study their bachelor program? What are the support system ACU provides, which are unique in its case?
Yeah, so we have a very holistic approach in terms of how we support our students. So all students, right, regardless if they're a local student or an international student. But for international students, basically, they can be assured to know that on each of our campuses, we have dedicated international student advisors. So basically, if say for example, I'm an international student at ACU and it's my first day on campus and I have no clue what's going on.
Right.
I know the first person I can go and speak with is the international student advisor. So that basically is the first point of contact. If I do have any issues, questions, concerns, anything at all. So basically from that point, if it's a relatively small matter or a matter that can be, sorted out by the international student advisor, of course, could be resolved very, very quickly. But if it's a bigger thing, then we have other support services in place.
Correct.
For example, does the student need a counselor? So we have professional counselors on campus.
Correct.
Yeah. If the student has certain disabilities, we've got disability support officers
Fantastic.
on campus as well for the student. But aside from that, we also have careers advisors.
Right. Which
So
is very a big role.
Oh, huge. Because especially for international students or again, any student, local student, international student, I guess once you're a student, you want to get a part-time job
Absolutely.
to kind of support yourself a little, right? So you don't have to rely so much on your parents or your family. So for example, our careers advisors can help our students to build their first resume. Maybe they've never done it before, so they can help our students to do that. Help them to do some practice interview skills, right? That's important as
That's
well.
very important.
Yeah. Just basically direct the students, guide them, where are some of the places where there are job opportunities or they can look for work opportunities as well.
Correct.
And also particularly for a lot of our students who are, again, nurses and teachers, what are the steps involved, So what do you do? Of course, you got to get the right qualification, but after that, what about registration? What's the process?
Right.
So they can help basically guide.
Post they complete their program, the registration process also could be guided.
Exactly. Educate them
educate them.
about this whole process, what does it all entail?
So they're very prepared way before.
Exactly. So they know what's ahead, I
Right.
guess you can say. Correct, right? That's very, very important. So it really helps the student to prepare. So that's what our careers advisors can do. And even after they graduate, up to the first 2 years after they graduate, if they need support from our careers advisors,
Wow.
they still have access
Wow.
to that service as well. So it doesn't mean, once they're finished at ACU, that's the end. So we do extend that service even to our graduates after, they're finished. So that's one. Another area is, of course, academic skills. So, for a lot of students, it could be the very first time that they're studying overseas.
Agreed.
They probably aren't very sure how, referencing is done for an essay here in Australia.
Very much required to make sure that the plagiarism doesn't make
Exactly,
place.
exactly. So, we run workshops, or our our academic skills advisors can help the student with all this as well, to educate them so that, they know exactly what they need to do, or if they might just need a bit of help to look over some of their work that they've done to see, if they're on track. These sorts of support,
Right.
basically.
And when you mentioned about that,
Mm.
and I know that ACU has across 8 campus plus
Mm.
across Australia, right? What does that mean for an international student when do they have an access to all the campuses? What are the flexibility involved? And do all the campuses provide the similar sort of facilities?
Yeah, so for us, obviously, we're a multi-campus university. So the good thing is, of course, choice.
Right.
So it's up to the student.
Correct.
There is variation in terms of the courses that we do offer across the campuses, because some of our campuses are bigger campuses based in the metropolitan areas, of course, at Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane.
Right.
Then we do have our smaller campuses in the regional areas,
Right.
in Canberra and in Ballarat.
Ballarat, yeah.
So first of all, I guess it gives students the option. So what would you like? Would you like to study in a big city, or would you like to study in a regional area? Um, and then, of course, for our bigger courses, for example, nursing, it's pretty much offered across all campuses. So they do have that option. And also for us, I guess, even though we've got 35,000 students in total, that's in
Fantastic.
total, which is not a small number.
Absolutely not.
But I think you can imagine if it was 35,000 students in a single campus.
The personalized approach, which you just said, may not
Exactly. It's
add
not going to
that.
translate.
It's not going to translate.
That's right. So if you've got 35,000 students on a single campus, it's a lot of things happening.
Right.
It's not going to feel quite as like a community. But for us, we've got 35,000 students spread across 7 campuses here in Australia. Each campus has its own community
Wow,
that the students can connect with.
that's good.
And we make sure, we reinforce that at the each of the campuses.
Right.
So one example I can give is here in Melbourne, for example. So we have nutrition science
Right.
as a program.
Correct.
So we actually have a little garden on campus, where so we've got our academics who are obviously nutritionists and dietitians. They've kind of selected some nutritious vegetables and
Right.
plants to have in the garden. So we've got the garden growing, and obviously, it produces lots of fresh vegetables, fruits that then the students can take home, and we hand out recipes, healthy recipes that they can cook food.
This is such a great insight, because, um, you know, students, whoever, whenever they understand that there is something very much beyond their course curriculum, which they can experience in a realistic scenario, it makes a huge difference wherein they are in a way getting industry ready already while, on campus rather than they experiencing it once they complete it. So that's a very fantastic mode, which the ACU has. Having said that, Desmond, can you tell me that, in your experience and that in today's scenario, when a student is receiving counseling, to study at any university or ACU, right? What do you think that the representative, which is the agents, are completely missing when they are counseling, then to a counseling which was a decade ago?
That's a very good question. I think first of all, I think education counselors do a very good job. Um, I think nowadays the issue is there's lots of options.
There are lots of options.
That's the thing, I guess, compared to maybe say even a decade ago.
I agree with you on that.
I think then it's about having all these options, trying to find the best fit for the student, which sometimes can be the tricky part.
Right.
I think that,
Correct.
but again, I think that's something obviously uh, that can still work, of course, right? But I think it's always about putting the students' interests first. That's it. I think if you start from that as your first step,
I think everything follows.
it will work out. Everything will fall into place. So I think, yeah, that's the key. It's about really thinking about, for the student, what is their best interest, or really working with the student to kind of come up with a plan, a study plan that, will really benefit the student and their future.
Correct.
So,
A very customized version of their own study plan would definitely make a lot of difference rather than top surface information. No, that's very good. There's a lot of students from Southeast Asia, as you're looking after that market very strongly, have preferably increased their preference to come to Australia. Predominantly, it was 25% of the students going to Canada and 23% coming to Australia. But now that percentage has increased. Why do you see a shift specifically from Philippines and Indonesia and Vietnam, for that instance, coming to Australia and obviously then to ACU?
I think there's various factors at play for this. I think, well, first of all, I think obviously the Australian government has made it very clear. I think particularly in the last year or two,
Right.
where Southeast Asia has to be the strategic focus for all institutions. So I think that any kind of government policy had impact.
Right.
And this is definitely one of those where then it automatically gets all the institutions to focus on Southeast Asia.
Is it also because of the trade agreement also, which came into play?
All that helps.
All the
All that helps. I think when government gives a directive and then obviously then plans are implemented, things get moving because it's been reinforced. It sets the wheel moving.
correct.
So I think that is obviously very, very important.
Important.
I think for a lot of institutions as well, given the demographics of Southeast Asia, how the global south, as they call it now, with the young population,
Right.
growing population, just the amount of opportunities in the market to be developed. That's one of the main reasons, I suppose, why the government has put up this initiative. So that's another factor
Correct.
as well. And of
Which
course,
is a very strong factor because it's coming from the top.
Exactly. And of course, diversification.
Diversification.
So
Yeah, but my next question was that only, that why do you think government has taken this move? And one of them is diversification, which you're sensing.
yeah, correct. So I think for a long time, I think for a lot of universities or institutions, I think the focus has been on, say, in China or North Asia. But I think they've come to a point where they realize that it's important to diversify and not put all your eggs in the one basket.
Right.
Mm.
And how is that working well? Is that working well?
For us at ACU, yes, it is. So we have definitely experienced in the last few years, especially post-COVID, we have experienced quite significant growth in terms of students coming from Southeast Asia, particularly from Vietnam, Philippines, and even like now some of the emerging markets there, for example, Cambodia.
Wow. Cambodia as well.
Cambodia, yes, they are up and coming, I would say, as a market in Southeast Asia. And of course, Indonesia is a very, very key market as well for a lot of institutions too. So it's Southeast Asia, I guess, is a very dynamic market.
And a very mindset is very different, right? For
Mm.
every market, when you talk about student coming from Indonesia
Mm.
to Cambodia to
Mm.
Philippines and Vietnam, is there a huge difference even in the mindset of each of the communities which they are coming, or is there a common factor to all?
I think for some of these markets, of course, they might be kind of, well, I would say in general,
In general.
I think nowadays the mindset have shifted. I would say maybe say compared to, again, going back 5, 10 years. I think nowadays uh, students and parents focus a lot on career outcomes. So, what's the return on investment for them when they send their kids to study overseas?
Correct.
And I think again that helps kind of drives that demand as well. And for us being a university where we have, I believe it's 92% graduate outcome employability, where
Quite a
yeah,
significant
it's very high
percentage.
for our graduates, where the parents can see, where, for our students, the way we educate them, the way we prepare them for to build up their confidence, their knowledge, and their skills. So once they graduate, they're ready to join the workforce, and to see those numbers to back it up. That kind of sells it to the parents in terms of thinking this is the right place for my child to get
Yes,
the right
because at the end
education.
of the day, eventually it is all about making careers, right?
Mm.
Okay. And where they would find a legit statistics for their child to even think about putting into that step. It makes a lot of difference, which is a great point. When you mentioned about career outcomes and employability, what is your recommendation to the current international student? That one is the set of facilities, what a university is having, but there's a second thing as well as to what they are doing by themselves to make themselves industry ready before the time comes, because a university or any party can only do towards a certain extent, the rest is a lot. So what is that advice you would give to the current international student?
Yeah, so I think, look, the first step is, of course, I think the university or the institution has to have in place the facilities and the right kind of service and support to ensure that the students have exposure
Correct.
for practical work experience. So, for example, for us, for pretty much the majority or most of our courses, there's always some kind of component within the course itself, whether it be an internship, a placement. Of course, for certain courses, it's mandatory. For example, nursing and teaching is part of the course. You have to do it. Otherwise, you will not be able to get your registration after you
Right.
finish the course. So it's basically built into the program. But even for our other courses, for example, business, IT, creative arts, visual arts and design, we give students the opportunity to go out and get involved, get hands-on experience by working with companies, organizations, or local organizations. So we always make sure our students have that opportunity to basically put what they've learned in the classroom and to apply it out in the real world.
Right.
So I think that is the first step,
Correct.
to have those opportunities there for the students, and giving students the exposure for this. The second step, of course, is the student themselves play a big part in this as well.
Right.
So I guess for a lot of our students, when they actually go out and do their placements or their internships, is actually a very good time for them to market themselves.
So the practical component is given as a chance. You know, having said that, they gotta make a maximum benefit out of it, but ACU does give that chance to the students.
Correct. So, for example, we've had lots of nursing students, education students who went out to do their placements. And then obviously they took that opportunity to the max. They really showcased themselves. They really showed their enthusiasm to learn. they showed that they're willing to put in extra work, and they're willing to also get to know the people, whether it's in the hospitals or at the schools. And what ends up happening is the places where they've done their placements, they're so impressed by the students. They say, keep in touch. Once you've finished, you've got your registration, we want you back and to be working with
That's
us.
excellent.
So we've had lots of these stories happening to our students. And yeah, for example, one case is we had a Indonesian student with us who was studying a Masters of Teaching secondary. So it's training, obviously, to be a high school teacher.
High school teacher.
And basically, yeah, he did really well at the placement, and the school literally offered him a job before he even finished his course.
Wow.
They're like, we want you back with us once you graduate.
So you mean to also say that ACU has a great set of employers which they affiliate with at the disposal every year for the students to get the opportunity. Has it ever happened that any student has not got an internship or from ACU while they are studying, or no, like all the students to get it?
Look, all of them do get it.
Fantastic.
So that's something that we ensure if we offer the course,
Then there is an
it's
internship.
there for the student, right? The practical experience component of the program, because it's part of the course. And for us as an institution, we have to be able to deliver it to our students. So it's part of the course. So yeah, we offer it to the students.
That is excellent. That assuredly makes a lot of difference for international students because that is a key step before they move in the market. Having said that, Desmond, AI is very much talked these days, right? What is, in your opinion, is the usage of AI in the health sector, and has the university kind of put some steps in that direction to the current students?
I think AI is something that you can't escape from. And you might as well try and harness the power of AI and use it to your advantage, or to your benefit, or something that I guess can help you to be more efficient and effective
Right.
in your work. Of course, for example, jobs like nurses and teachers, I don't think AI is ever going to replace
That's a
these
very
jobs.
good insight. Yeah.
Whereas perhaps there are some other jobs or industries out there which, in a not too far away future, I mean, AI could completely replace those positions. But for us, obviously, we embrace AI as a university in terms of our learning experience for our students. We incorporate that into their course, where, of course, if it's applicable, and we feel that it helps benefit the student in terms of the learning process, because yeah, we recognize that AI is the future, and we have to learn to coexist, I guess you can say, with AI.
Correct.
So that's something that we do. I guess as AI grows, we integrate components of AI into the learning process for our students, and also find ways to make it beneficial for our students.
Correct. And before we could come very much nearby to our conversations, ongoing for the next time. But I wanted to know that when it comes to the current parents investing such huge amount into an Australian university for their studies, right? Okay, what is that one advice you would want to give to the student that they should avoid while their student journey here in Australia?
I think for the student, it's important to, I know it's very hard sometimes to kind of imagining yourself, especially when you're young,
Correct.
what exactly you want to be and, you know, or what sector or what field that you want to work in the future. Um, So sometimes some students may get a little bit carried away in terms of they might know certain institutions and they might be drawn in terms of the prestige or the brand of certain universities. What's important for students to keep in mind is have a good sense of perhaps where they see themselves for their future career, and then giving enough research, thought, or talking to important people, might be the school counselors, might be the homestay family, might be the education counselor, and then finding what is the most suitable for them. Because sometimes not, a student might think I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, but that is maybe not the most ideal
Ideal for
occupation
them.
given their uh, personality or their ability. So it's really, I guess, having put
Focus
the right
analysis is
advice.
something which you really would say, because, and I completely agree with you that we all know, and that is the reality, that focus can be completely changed, once they go on to their career, in terms of whether to give more importance to the studies, whether to give more importance to part-time work. And I think the focus should be something which you are saying,
Mm,
it would has to remain,
mm.
if a student has to have a successful career here in Australia. Desmond, before we close the conversation, I wanted to go through few rapid fire questions with you, right? And get certain more facts to the students, from this conversation. So here we come with the rapid fire questions, which are not clearly rapid fire, so you can take your time, Des. When it comes to, do you think that is networking underrated currently amongst the international students, and why?
I don't think it's underrated. I think maybe perhaps students sometimes are just not aware, I guess, the importance of actually networking. Because sometimes perhaps with networking, the thing is you may not see the result of it immediately.
Correct.
It can come back to you perhaps in a year's time or 2 years' time, a little bit further down the track.
Mhm.
So I think it's important for us to encourage
Mhm.
students to network, to open up themselves, to network and to kind of showcase themselves and try and connect with um, just many different people, whether it's from the industry or even if it's just within the university, because sometimes forming these networks, you just never know where it could
It
lead
could
you
click.
to. Exactly. So I think it's not underrated, but I just think maybe sometimes students are just not as aware how important it might be.
Right.
Mm.
My second question to you is, what is a what is, or what are the biggest mistakes which international students do in the first 6 months once they land Australia?
I think for international students, sometimes I think they do forget. Of course, yes, they've come here to study, right? That the parents have put a lot of investment into this for them to give them this opportunity and this chance. And I think sometimes students, yes, ultimately everything is about their studies, right? The academic focus of the students to do well, to pass or get really good grades.
Right.
But I think it's important for international students to also take care of themselves, particularly mental health.
Hmm.
Because sometimes, for international students, they could be a lot under a lot of pressure. Not only just trying to adjust to life here in Australia, in terms of studying the Australian way in Australian university, which is completely different to perhaps the way they've been brought up in terms of the learning process and everything. So I think for international students, it's important that they try and keep a good balance between, yes, academic studies is their number one priority, but
Correct.
also having to just taking care of themselves as well. Because if they do make new friends,
Correct.
connect with people on the campus, in terms of their social well-being, I think sometimes they don't recognize how important that is to also kind of balance it with, the academic priorities to have that, to have both, a bit of
A
both,
bit of voice,
a bit of balance,
balance, all the same.
because it's important. It all adds up. And if sometimes students just get too dragged down and too focused on purely academics, um, they lose that
That's a
balance.
very good insight, coming from a university is so realistic, right? That when it comes to, too much of everything is not good. A balance of everything is great combination. Having said that, Des, if you had to go back, like, and like, let's say if you wanted to become an international student today, what would you do differently and why if you were an international student?
I think the main thing is just being open-minded
Mm.
and trying different things, you know. If the uni is putting on some kind of social event, just go, hey, I might just go and attend and see what it's about. So yeah, it's about just being open to new experiences, and having trying to make connections. I think, yeah, that's important.
Yes, and
So
I think you're very correct that, a lot of international students, when they like, they need to carry what they have got, which is good, but they need to be really open to the new opportunities and saying, or pushing it rather than just pushing it back that, no, this is not for me. I am not an extrovert person to be. That's a fantastic way. Having said that, my last question to you is, what is that one skill or career you would advise current students to adapt, which is going to be very necessary for them, no matter whichever career they go into?
I think having the ability to listen to people,
Mhm.
I think that is sometimes very important, because I think nowadays what can happen is everyone becomes a little bit too focused on themselves.
Yes.
So I think that's definitely one important skill to have, which is, I think, being able to listen, to share
Mhm.
experiences, is important as well. And always just being there for others as well. I think that's important, because I think, sometimes you just think about it, if you're in someone else's shoes, how would they like it. So yeah, I think it's about um offering, seeing where you can help others, because you never know, you might need help as well, um at another time.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's important to remember as well, and to listen and to open up to others as well. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Mm.
Thank you so much, Desmond,
Mm.
for this fantastic conversation and for your time today. I think that all the students who get an opportunity to understand this conversation and think deep about it, it gives a lot of impact that, from an overall perspective, that, that it's not only just coming here and opting for any university. It is first doing a lot of analysis, right? And after coming here, making sure that you try to, or the student tries to be the part of the country and the culture where they belong to, which could add positive way, to their entire career. And obviously ACU is one of the a place where they can have the equal opportunity to experience that. So thank you so very much for today.
My pleasure. Thanks, Rudy.
Thank you.
Thank